Hey guys, Brannon with NOLATAC in the St. Bernard Indoor Shooting Center. Today we're going to talk about EDC, or everyday carry, specifically my EDC. What do I carry and why do I carry it? But first, as always, we must pay homage. Alright guys, so this is going to be my literal everyday carry, EDC. This is what I have on my body, honestly, about 95% of the time. We'll talk a little bit later about what I call gunning up or gunning down, where I may tweak certain aspects of my EDC based on the environment, or if I'm going to do a specific activity or something will from the outside will typically dictate that I change an element of it. But what I'm about to show you is what I wake up in the morning, put on, keep on all day, take off late at night or early the next morning when I'm done for my day. So I've kind of got it split bilateral, where what I carry on my right side, what I carry on my left side, and we'll kind of start from the top down. And this serves really, a lot of you have asked about this, but also kind of helps me out as almost like a video of record to put out there for people when they ask about different concepts of EDC. And I'm gonna get a little bit into kind of some of my philosophy of why I carry what I carry and where I carry it and all that kind of stuff. So, of course, for most people, the biggest and most important thing is going to be the gun itself. I'm a Glock 19 guy, have been for a very long time. I believe the Glock 19 is going to fit that niche that covers all the different qualities that we're looking for the best. There's other guns that are better than the Glock 19 in individual categories, but when you take all the categories and put them together, the Glock 19 is that porridge that is just right. So this particular Glock 19 that I've been carrying in this kind of format, if you will, or this configuration for probably the last 2, maybe 3 years. It's going to be a Glock 19. This particular frame is a Vickers Tactical Special Edition. It's the RTF frame. Nothing special. It's just what I had when I put this particular thing together. I've been carrying the Unity Tactical Atom Slide since it came out. I think I had one of the first ones to roll out, and I've been carrying that with a Trijicon RMR 06 since it hit the streets. Pretty sure over about 3 years ago. Trigger is a CMC trigger, CMC flat face trigger. This was a pre-production prototype. I've done some stuff with CMC, so I was kind of trying it out. Works great, kept it in the gun. I do have a Raven Concealment Systems Freya magwell on it. And then on this side, you will notice I have a rubberized Talon grip. It is not on this side. The reason for that is because I own an indoor range and gun store. Obviously, we open carry in a gun store because it's a gun store. And it also serves as a kind of a marketing beacon, if you will, for people to ask us, hey, what holster is that? What gun is that? That kind of stuff. So especially with this RTF frame, it was really just eating up every shirt I had from pretty much the moment I put it on. So this allows me to open carry where this side is against my body because I'm right-handed. So with this side against my body, it saves my shirts. It doesn't really hamper anything with the grip. I still get the benefit of the RTF where it matters, and I can talk about that later if you guys want. So other than that, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that is not stock. Nope, that's pretty much it. This particular gun probably has in the neighborhood of 5,000 to 7,000 rounds in it. I'll shoot this probably 50% of the time whenever I take a class. I did have to change out the RMR. I think this is the second RMR I've had on it. Or I swapped them out because while one went to service or something like that. But Unity Tactical Atom Slide, RMR 06, Raven Concealment Systems, Freya magwell, and it's going to be a Glock 19. This is the Vickers Tactical Edition. So I carry that with, I'm not really wrapped around the axle on ammo. I will typically carry Federal HST 147 grain or 124 grain plus P, or Spear Gold Dots, or Hornady Critical Duty. Really kind of whatever I can get, whatever I got. I don't really get too wrapped up on it. I'm worried about it being 124 plus P or 147. That'd be a quality bonded hollow point round. and it'd be 9mm. So of course I carry with the standard Glock 19 15 round magazine, one in it, and I carry it in currently in a Tourniquet Velo, I don't know exactly how they pronounce it, holster. I was introduced to these holsters by, I believe it was Caliber 4 when we hosted them for a class. What's beneficial about these is very, very, very strong steel, the spring steel clips. Of course, the gun fits in nicely. It's comfortable. It's going to have a bump, or what I call a belly bump, to kick the grip into the body for better concealment. This is actually the second version of this holster. I gave him some feedback that I wanted this to come up a little bit higher because my fat rolls were pushing in on my button. So this is kind of a Gen 2, if you will. I believe it's an inline change that they're doing on all of them now. But just to kind of help me a little bit on that, this little leading edge used to be a little bit shallower. Love the holster, it's great. Prior to that, I was carrying in a Raven Concealment Eidolon, which I had one of the pre-production versions of that. Love that holster, great holster. Other than that, I also like the G-Code Incog, which I had a little bit of input, if you will, into the design of that. So those are kind of my three main holsters. If you haven't figured out, I carry appendix. So I'm looking for a nice slim holster that's comfortable, that keeps the gun tight to my body, and those three are going to kind of be my top three. Moving down to the belt line, a little more, or rather the pockets. Of course, I'm going to have my wallet that's going to have my identification and dollar bills, y'all, and all that kind of stuff. On my right side, I kind of like karambits. I'm really not a knife guy per se. I don't have a whole lot of training in knife fighting or knife defense. I've taken a few classes here and there. It's been a component in some other classes I've taken. But one of the things I really like on a pocket knife is going to be some type of pocket opener. This one's going to have an Emerson Wave. This is the Spyderco, I believe they call it the Carahawk. So this is a folding karambit. It does have an Emerson Wave opener feature on it, so that when I draw the knife, the liner of my pocket opens it. Generally in that same pocket is where I will also toss my keys. I try not to be too janitor-ish about it, but I have my vehicle stuff, my business, get into my business, get into my home, a backup key for my police unit, and then this is a Surefire Sidekick that I just started carrying a couple months ago, just as another little admin light. As you'll see, I'm kind of big on lights. I like having lights available to me. And then moving over to my left pocket, in the back, I'm going to have a business card holder. I own a business, so I want to always have the ability to hand out and receive business cards. So this is one I got it shot several years ago from Tactical Tailor. It was a little swag giveaway. But the cool part is it has this kind of plastic liner in it. And down here in South Louisiana, it gets a little humid. So having this in my back pocket, doing work, yard work, whatever, there's lots of times where everything else in my back pockets will be wet. This protects my cards. This is I probably need to stop calling it a prototype because I've been having it for about 5 years now. But this is a med wallet that I created with high-speed gear that hasn't really hit the market. It's something I'm working on. I just haven't gotten around to it. But it's a wallet design. In it, I have a SWAT T tourniquet, gloves, and a packet of combat gauze. A lot of the logic on how I wear that is because anyone who's been in law enforcement or a truck driver or spends a lot of time in vehicles knows that as a guy, it's real easy to get a fat wallet, and then next thing you know, you're sitting like this and you start having legitimate back issues. So this allows me to kind of level myself out. It also utilizes that other pocket that's not typically being used, and it kind of helps keep me level. Also gives me the ability to carry additional medical stuff. So front pocket on that same left side, I'll always have some type of defensive oriented light. This particular one is a Streamlight Protac 1L AA. I think these are dual fuel now, where you can either run AAs or CR123s. This was one I got about 2 shots ago, maybe 3 shots ago, I forget. Right before they had hit the street. I was talking to, I knew the guys at Streamlight, was talking to them and kind of oh, you know, poor mouth them a little bit, and they hooked me up with one before they came out, and I love it. I love it. It's worked great. I've had no problems with it. Then this is kind of what I call my throw down knife. This one's a Kershaw Hinderer. I don't know. I get the Battle Box subscription every month that always has a couple of cool knives in it. And this is my in the shop, opening boxes, cutting stuff, work knife. And this one I just kind of started carrying a few months ago, so it's not that tore up yet. But you know, it'll get tape glue and break the tip off. Like, this is literally the working, doing whatever knife. I could certainly stick a fool if I had to with this, but the main purpose of this is to do those utilitarian knife duties, so that I'm not damaging a fighting knife, if you will. Moving down to the ankles, I'm real big on ankle carry. I think it's an underutilized space that allows me to carry some pretty essential equipment. On my right ankle, I have a med kit. On my left ankle, I carry a secondary gun. So starting on the left with the secondary gun, it's going to be a Glock 26. This one is loaded. It's going to be a Glock 26 in a Galco ankle light holster. These holsters are great. I've carried these holsters for at least 15 years. This would be my, I believe, third one. So I get about, depending on you know, how my activities are that year, anywhere from 3 to 5 years on these holsters. I've worn this holster almost every day of my life. In a law enforcement and a EDC capacity, I've run through ditches, bayous, jump fences, literally, unfortunately, kicked people with it. Like, everything I could conceive, never had it fall off, never had it give. What I like about it is it has this neoprene. It's a neoprene strap that lets me, I like things on my ankle very tight. Also, it's on my ankle. I'm in South Louisiana. I sweat. I step in water. It rains. It's humid. So this neoprene doesn't get funky like a leather or a nylon might tend to be. This sheepskin, this one is, like I said, I've only been wearing this one for maybe about 6 months. This will get wore out relatively quickly as it rides, depending on what type of shoes you wear. That's fine. This might get a little kind of funky looking, like, you know, imagine not cleaning your, have you ever seen those people that have like the dreads that are all matted down? It'll kind of start to look like that, as you see here. But you know, you clean it with a little soapy water if you want to. I never clean it. In it, I have a Glock 26. This particular one needs to be clean. This particular one has a grip stippling job done by Ben over at Boresight Solutions. It has some Glock Trijicon Glock night sights. Other than that, it's stock. It's had some grip work done and it's stock. I carry the Glock 26 because I carry a Glock 19 EDC and typically a Glock 17 on duty. So obviously it gives me downward magazine compatibility, as well as it's something I'm used to. I think it's kind of bulky, but if I absolutely had to, I could even wear this as a vest gun. But if I find myself in one of those very, very, very rare situations where I'm not carrying my primary, I know I have this as I believe a +2, so that would be 12, 13. That would be 15 rounds here, so I'm still about as gunned up as I would be here. So I don't feel undergunned or anything like that if all I have is this. So that's gonna be a Glock 26 and a Galco ankle light on my left ankle. And then I'm a big proponent of carrying medical equipment, and that's where I think the ankle IFAC or AFAC, however you term it, comes into play. You'll see I've been working on, for about the last 3 years, a pretty comprehensive review of the primary ankle med kits or ankle IFACs available in the market. I think I'm up to about 13 now. This should hopefully be the last one. I've worn each of them for a minimum of 60 days, you know, consecutively for the most part. Some I've worn 6 months, but this will give us a good look at it. This particular one is by a company called, I believe it's Sword and Shield. And in it, you know, obviously the design of it dictates a little bit of what I can and can't carry, but I require it to carry a primary tourniquet. In this case, it's going to be a Gen 7 Cat. And then in this little pouch, I'm going to have a packet of a hemostatic agent, in this case combat gauze, in here. I do it left-handed. In here I have a prep packet of combat gauze, and then in the other part of it, up top, the flap, if you will, I've got a dual chest seal. This one I believe is a Fox. Yep, a Fox dual chest seal. And then it has a second pouch, and in this one I choose to carry a backup magazine. I will typically not carry a backup magazine, to be quite honestly. However, through that review process, that's a feature, if you will, that I like. So if the med kit has the capability to also carry a secondary magazine, that's a big bonus. This one obviously has critical duty in it. And if I'm carrying a backup magazine, it's almost always going to be a Glock 17 magazine, because obviously the Glock 17 will fit in the 19 into 26. I'm not really giving up a whole lot of space, but I'm getting those 2 extra rounds in it. So that's going to be the ankle med kit. And again, there'll be a pretty in-depth review that I've been working on for quite a while on that. Now, all of this stuff, we need a belt. As you guys are well aware, we're very fortunate to have Blue Alpha Gear as our sponsor. They make some phenomenal belts. This particular belt that I've been wearing for, it's actually, I know for a fact it's 5 years, because I just sent this actual belt off to get re-velcroed. So it took about 5 years, and I wore through the Velcro where I wouldn't get, good engagement here. But the scuba webbing is the original scuba webbing, and you can kind of see how it's formed. This belt, this exact belt, I wore on my body for probably 350 of every year for 365 days. This is from a company called Volun Gear. I found them when the whole Cobra buckle craze started, and that was because the Cobra buckles are cool, but they're kind of bulky. And what I wanted was something slimmer, and they were the only ones doing this G-hook design. So when I got them to redo this, I bought a second belt in a different color because I liked it so much. But I had the fortunate event to meet Kurt and the guys from Blue Alpha Gear at SHOT Show, and most recently at NRA annual meeting. And in talking to them, and obviously doing videos and them being a sponsor, I knew a little bit about their product line, and they do a kind of unique thing with the Cobra buckle and use a different Cobra buckle that allows it to sit flat and not be that big bulky thing. So I do have some belts supposedly coming in, some EDC belts from Blue Alpha Gear, and then I'm going to be looking also at their duty rig, their duty belt, their 2-inch duty belt. So all the gun stuff's cool, right? And this may come as a surprise, but probably what I consider to be the most important EDC tool is going to be this phone. And that's because this can summon help. This can help me avoid a problem where I hopefully don't have to use any of these other tools. This is a lifeline. The phone really doesn't matter, like the style type, but it's that in our modern society, you really need to have this. Because if you are forced to use this, then you absolutely need this. Be it to summon 911, taking pictures of evidence, calling an attorney, whatever. There are times where perceptively this phone is more vitally important than some of this other gear. Just if you care, this is an iPhone, I think 8 Plus. I didn't want to get the 10 because I really liked the thumb thing. I wasn't a big fan of the face thing. The main thing I'm concerned with is the case. So as you could tell, I'm pretty rough on my phones, right? But as soon as I get a new phone, it goes in a battery case. I grew up in the age prior to pagers, when you actually had to know a phone number and dial it on a phone. I had phones in my house. I don't know if you know the ones that go, you have to dial each number individually. I know my cell phone. I know my mother's house home phone, because that's the home I grew up in. And I know my father's house home phone. If you put a gun to my head and said, Brandon, tell me a phone number, those are literally the only, and my business line, those are the only 4 phone numbers that I can actually recite, because we've all been trained. I have probably a couple thousand numbers in here. So everything's immediately at my fingertips, so it's not in my brain. So if I were to get arrested or I was to need something, I need this phone to have access to those people I need. And then just a wealth of information that's available to you. You need to look up a law, You don't know what size wrench goes to the nut on your truck that's stranded on the side of the road for that part. Like, all that's immediately available to you. So I can't stress the importance of, if there are all these things on this table, the one thing that would make me turn my vehicle around instantaneously, no matter what or where I'm at, is this phone. Because without this phone, I can't summon additional help. I can talk myself out of problems. I can make good decisions to not get in them. I know this phone has literally saved my lives and the lives of other people more times than a firearm has. So being on the side of the road, calling 911 for an accident, medical equipment, and there it goes right there. Medical equipment and the phone are probably the two most probable things out of all of this that you'll use. So this is what I have on my person all day, every day, pretty much every day. There's the only thing that may happen is I may not carry this gun, once a quarter. There's not too many places in the world that I have to be that I can't carry this gun. If it's a place that I can't carry a firearm, then I'm probably not going there. The only times that may be a difference is I may have to go into a courthouse. Then obviously, depending on the courthouse, I have to, lock my gun up, but I carry my gun there. It's there locked up, and I carry my gun out. There may be some unique social situations where a gun of this size on my waistline appendix carry is not going to work. And that's where we talk about gunning up or gunning down based on the situation. So now let's look at some of the things that play a role into if I'm going to alter this EDC at all. So there are times where the situation or our environment may dictate that we have to slightly alter our EDC. And I typically refer to that as gunning up or gunning down, because the main thing of the EDC is typically going to be the gun, and that's going to typically be what you alter. Either you're going to a bigger gun or a smaller gun. So some of the options that I have for that, and it's very honestly rare that I have to do that. If I'm gunning up, it's typically in kind of an overt fashion. I'm in uniform, working law enforcement. I have a duty rig. Like, I'm not worried. That's not really EDC per se, which, by the way, all my pocket stuff and ankle stuff stays on me for duty. Really, the only thing that changes is my waistline gun comes off, and of course, I'm wearing a duty belt. Other than that, my ankle stuff, my pocket stuff, my wallets, all that stays the same. So typically what I'll find is if I'm in a plainclothes or a casual capacity, I'm having the gun down. I'm going into an environment or either the literal environment, the weather, or the social environment requires that I'm not going to be able to have this gun up front and center. Maybe I'm going to be around people. I'm going to a social environment where I'm going to be hugging a lot or interacting with people. I'm in a very dense, crowded environment. Or something mandates that I go to a smaller gun. Maybe the clothes I'm having to wear is typically what that is. Then I'll generally go to a smaller gun. I carry a Glock 19. Like I said, to me, that's a good mid-sized gun for probably 90% of the situations I find myself in. If I'm having to go to something smaller, then I will typically go to a Glock 43. If I've got to go smaller, then it's because I've got to go really small. I don't need to go a little bit smaller than a Glock 19. So I go typically with a Glock 43. I don't have any reason to go below 9mm. There's plenty of guns that will meet those needs in 9mm. So Glock 43, it's a Glock. I know it's going to work. I've shot this gun well and extensively. I know I can rely on it. I don't have to worry about getting new ammo, anything like that. With the standard, you're going to have 6+1, so 7 rounds. I will almost always, in that case, at minimum, grab a spare magazine and throw it in a back pocket or a front pocket or something. But I almost always will carry that at minimum one other magazine. If this is going to be my actual primary gun, or maybe I'm in like a suited capacity and I'm just going for a smaller gun, maybe for comfort or whatever, but I still want to be bougie, then I'll also, put on an actual leather, mag carrier and carry actually a third mag, because I'll generally have this and then the other one in a nice leather holster, or carry the appendix in a holster, and then I'll still have a third magazine in my back pocket because it's such smaller capacity. All these leather mag pouches are going to be from Mean Gene Leather, Gene Higdon, over North Carolina. Phenomenal gear, really, really nice. What I call heirloom quality gear. If you even remotely take care of it, this will be something you pass down. Really cool design, spring steel in it. So it'll fit pretty much any. This one's specifically for a single stack. It'll fit any single stack mag nice and tight. I don't have to worry about it. I will typically carry it with a Raven Vanguard. That's this little trigger guard holster, if you will. Because again, if I'm having to carry this gun, it's because concealability is at the top of my priority list in that situation. So I will generally carry that. If not, maybe I want a little bit more comfort or something, then I'll go to a slightly larger holster, something that'll give me just a little bit more security. Maybe I'm gonna be a more active role or something like that. This is from Filster. I'll jump to that. But typically, this is what I'm carrying if I'm carrying the 43. All right. If for whatever reason I need to gun up, I will typically still carry the Glock 19, but the gunning up is more ammo. All right. If I'm doing a plainclothes deal, then I'll just throw this on. Again, it kind of fits that aesthetic. Then I'm able to carry either my handcuffs, or because this is also that same kind of burrito design from Gene, I can also throw an AR mag in here if I have to. So depending on what I'm actually doing, I can have an AR mag, handcuffs, and then either a flashlight or an additional magazine. And again, that's going to be a full-size Glock 17 mag. And then there are times where I'm just, for whatever reason, I want to grab another magazine, right? So if I'm not going to throw it in my pocket, again, depending on, black belt, gotta coordinate, right? So either black or brown, same thing. I'll belt these through. These have Glock 19 mags in it, but typically I'll grab that 17 mag. But these were there and loaded. If it's something quick, then this is from G-Code. This is their Scorpion pouches. Same kind of multi-fit design. I could put pretty much anything in there I want. I can tighten it and adjust the tension, and then just clip it on my belt. It's got a little paddle clip on it. If for whatever reason I feel I need a light on that gun, then I will typically jump up. This is going to be the Raven Concealment Systems pre-run, I believe it is. I've got this holster in a light version and a non-light version. I kind of flip-flop between carrying a light on my EDC gun. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. So that would be the gunning up part. Another thing that people ask about, I am not particularly a knife guy, but I have taken some classes, and I do carry knives on me just as a matter of utility. From a defensive standpoint, I kind of dabbled with carrying a fixed blade knife on the belt line. It's not something I do on the regular. I'm still kind of feeling it out. If I do, this one was introduced to me, I forget the name off the top of my head, but was introduced to me by Cal DeFore. Generally, knife stuff is a component of almost all his training. We have hosted him a few times. If not, then also I've done some training with Craig Douglas from Southnork. So his cinch pick design, again, a good a good belt line design. A lot of it will also dictate where I'm carrying. Then from Colonel Blades, their punch knife. These are actually two that I got in a charity auction at SHOT Show at the Brian Terry Foundation. So pretty cool. I don't typically carry them, but I got them there if I need them. It could be something as simple as a K-Bar TDI knife. I've had this one for many years. I like karambits, and I like auto-opening karambits. So this is a Fox Knives karambit. Another thing is flashlights. So again, I always have at least one handheld flashlight, regardless of what I'm carrying on a firearm. I'm a big proponent of having a handheld flashlight. I use mine a lot. Remember, flashlights aren't just for night. There's probably more darkness during the day as you walk in and out of structures than there is at night. This is a Surefire Tactician. I always keep several I have flashlights all in my vehicle. I'm almost never not in arm's reach of a flashlight besides the ones that are on me. Then I keep a backup Protac 1L ready to go. And then this one is an Olight one that I got. Just another task-oriented light. So if I was going to do something at night, like I knew I was going to be out at night, I'd still have my normal stuff, and I'd probably throw an extra flashlight in my pocket. Okay? And then I keep, most of my flashlights are going to be either 1A or CR123. And I use the little Theorem vaults to keep some keep some batteries on hand. Again, if I'm going to do something where I know I'm going to be out at night, I'll generally grab this, throw it in my bag, and then I'll have some backup flashlights. And here's something that I can't overstate enough. And I kind of mentioned it when we're going through the big thing of what I carry every day. And that's the necessity to carry a tourniquet. Look, the guns are cool, the knives, the flashlights, all that stuff cool and sexy. We could talk about it and compare it. But at the end of the day, if there was something that was going to truly save a life, the highest probability is going to be this tourniquet. All right? Most situations that are life-threatening will not be resolved with a firearm. I can tell you in 20 plus years of carrying a gun on me every day, very rarely has that gun saved me or someone else's life. But a tourniquet, medical training, or other medical equipment has multiple times. I have stopped several times on the side of the road at an accident scene and administered medical attention, once with the tourniquet, several times with other stuff where maybe a tourniquet would have been better. My point is, while the gear's cool, if our mindset's correct and we're really thinking critically and playing the number game properly, this tourniquet ranks up there at the phone and the gun. The gun, the tourniquet, and the phone are really the top three things that you shouldn't leave the home without, period. This is a soft T wide, and I mean a real tourniquet, a purpose-built, TCCC approved, legit tourniquet. And that's going to be a soft TW, cat tourniquet, and there's a couple other ones most recently that are approved. All these other secondary compact type tourniquet things, that's cool. You want to throw some of those in your bag. I've got an aid bag in my vehicle, all that kind of stuff. But on my body, on my ankle, is going to be a purpose-built tourniquet. You know, thinking that you're going to take your belt off and make a tourniquet, guys, I'm sorry if this hurts your feelings. It's silly. It's not going to happen. If you have any level of training or you've actually had to do something, you understand that the concept, while you certainly can make field expedient tourniquets, you're generally not going to be as good at it as you think you are. They're not going to work as well as a purpose-built tourniquet. And if you're trying to do it to yourself, looking around and taking off belts and all that stuff while you got a couple of holes in you is ill-advised. You want to have a purpose-built tourniquet. Okay, I have these in every door frame of every door pocket of my vehicle. On each visor, there's probably at least 10 tourniquets in my vehicle. Why? Because that's where I am most likely going to get injured. I'm probably not going to get shot in the streets. My truck's probably going to roll in the streets, and I'm going to need a tourniquet because a piece of metal went through my leg, or my arm got cut by the window, or something like that, or I'm going to roll up on a vehicle accident, and I'm going to choose to administer aid to someone like that. So tourniquet, tourniquet, tourniquet. I really, guys, and look, here's the thing. Absolutely get training. Absolutely get training. But the truth, 30 seconds and a YouTube video, and you can learn what you need to know. Maybe not everything you should know, but what you absolutely critically need to know, you can learn very quickly with a tourniquet. So for about $35 and 35 seconds of your time, this will be the thing that is most likely to save your life. All right, guys, so that's a little bit about our EDC. Remember, the most important thing is that your EDC needs to match your everyday. Your everyday is not going to be the same as my everyday, the same as anyone else's. Hopefully, what I've shown you serves as a little bit of a guide, more of a philosophy than a go by these things. Why I carry what I carry, why I carry it where I do, a little bit of credibility into some of the gear choice and the longevity of use, those kind of things. Trying to mimic exactly what I do, or anybody else does for that matter, is probably not going to best serve you because, again, you're not in the same environment, you're not doing the same daily activities. So with that EDC being done, I'm going to jump over to some ENC, every night consumption. You guys be vigilant, y'all stay prepared, y'all be safe.
Ready? Let's go. I've got a big fat drum, pounding so bad. I've got a big fat drum, big fat drum. I've got a big fat, big.